What if I told you that for just 1 second, everything stopped? Not just your clock, not just your phone, but time itself, the entire universe frozen in place. No movement, no sound, no light, just complete stillness. Sounds insane, right? But here's the real question. What would actually happen if time stopped for just 1 second? Would you feel it? Would the world change? Or would we never even know? Stick around, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about reality. Are you ready to dive into the impossible? Let's find out. The nature of time and perception. Imagine if time suddenly stopped, just for a single second. Sounds harmless, right? But hold on, because time isn't just a ticking clock. It's the very thing that keeps reality in motion. From the way we breathe to the way light travels, everything is governed by time. But what if, for a brief moment, time completely froze? Would we even notice it? Well, here's the crazy part. You wouldn't. Your brain, like everything else, relies on time to function. Every thought, every memory, every movement you make depends on time moving forward. If time paused, so would your neurons. Your brain wouldn't even get the chance to register that something strange had happened. Imagine blinking, but in that brief moment everything, your heartbeat, your thoughts, even the air around you, completely stopped. And yet, when time resumed, you'd continue as if nothing had happened. Think about it like a video game freezing for a second due to lag. The game doesn't realize it's frozen, it just picks up where it left off. The same would happen to you. But here's a fun twist. If time stopped, would light stop too? That means, even if your eyes were open, you wouldn't see anything. The entire world would be trapped in absolute darkness for that one frozen second. And if we go deeper, this raises an even wilder question. If time stopped, but you somehow remained aware, would you feel like you were stuck in eternity? 1 second might stretch into an infinite abyss. Spooky, right? Luckily, your brain won't let you experience that. So, in reality, the biggest mystery of all is, did time ever stop before, and if it did, how would we even know? Physical implications of a time freeze. Let's say, time halts. You're in the middle of drinking coffee and suddenly, BAM! Time stops. The coffee mid-air freezes, the steam rising from the cup, suspended like an invisible sculpture. But the real question is, what happens on a deeper level? First off, all movement in the universe would come to a standstill. Atoms would stop vibrating, which means heat would cease to exist. Every object from your body to the sun would instantly drop to absolute zero. But here's the twist, you wouldn't feel cold. Why? Because you wouldn't even be able to process the change. Your nerves wouldn't work, your brain wouldn't function, and even your very thoughts would be put on hold. Then, there's light. Light moves at 299,792,458 meters per second. But if time stopped, light wouldn't move at all. That means the entire universe would be trapped in absolute darkness. Even if the sun was shining, its rays wouldn't reach your eyes until time resumed. Imagine someone flipping a switch and shutting off all light instantly. Except in this case, it's not just the lights in your room, it's every photon in existence. And here's where it gets weirder. What about air? Normally, air molecules zip around, allowing you to breathe. But if time froze, they'd stop moving too. That means for that 1 second, oxygen wouldn't reach your lungs, but don't panic. You wouldn't suffocate because, well, your lungs wouldn't be working either. Time would unfreeze, and you'd continue as if nothing happened. So, the next time you take a deep breath, look at the sky, or feel warmth on your skin, just remember, time is what makes it all possible. And if it ever stopped, even for just a second, the entire universe would hold its breath with you. Biological effects on living organisms. Let's talk about life itself. Your heart, your breath, your very existence. Everything in your body depends on time moving forward. But what happens if time stops for just 1 second? Would you feel it? Would it harm you? Here's the surprising answer: no, you wouldn't feel a thing. That's because the biological processes inside you are just as tied to time as everything else. Your heart beats, your blood flows, and your cells divide. All of these depend on time's steady movement. If time stops, so do you. It's like hitting the pause button on a movie. Nothing changes, but nothing moves either. Your body would be frozen in place, your brain would stop thinking, and even your sense of awareness would be suspended. And here's the freaky part. If everything about you stopped, you wouldn't even know time had paused in the first place. Your body wouldn't age, your cells wouldn't decay, and technically you wouldn't even be alive in that moment, but once time resumes, your body picks up right where it left off, as if nothing ever happened. But here's where things get really strange. Imagine you're blinking right when time stops. Your eyelids would freeze mid-motion, leaving your vision locked in place. If you were walking, your muscles would be frozen in action, defying physics for just a split second. And what about people in mid-sneeze? Would they be stuck with the world's longest ah-chew? The truth is, time's flow is what keeps all living things functioning. If time ever stopped, even briefly, life itself would hold its breath, waiting for the next second to arrive. And yet, because we experience time so seamlessly, we'll never know if it's already happened before. Technological and mechanical consequences. Now let's talk about the world around us. Machines, vehicles, the internet, and all the technology we rely on daily. If time stopped, would your phone glitch? Would planes fall from the sky? Would your favorite video game freeze mid-frame? The short answer, yes, but only for that brief second. Every piece of technology we use operates based on time. Clocks tick forward, computers process data, and electricity flows through circuits. All of it requires time to function, so if time stopped, everything electronic would pause too. Your phone screen would freeze mid-scroll, your Wi-Fi would halt, and even the electrical signals running through power lines would be suspended. Now, here's a mind-blowing thought. Cars, planes, and trains all rely on movement through time. If time stops, a speeding car wouldn't crash, because it wouldn't be moving at all in that moment. A plane in midair would hang in place, defying gravity for that 1 second. The entire world would be a frozen snapshot, paused in perfect stillness. And what about artificial intelligence? Could a supercomputer realize that time had paused? Not a chance. Just like our brains, AI needs time to process information. If time stops, it stops thinking too. It wouldn't detect the pause because, in its reality, there was no pause. The moment time resumes, it continues processing as if nothing happened. And here's where it gets even wilder. Would digital timekeeping devices skip a second, or would they stay perfectly accurate? Since they rely on electrical pulses that measure time, a 1-second stop might throw them off ever so slightly. But in a world where time is back on track, who would even notice? So the next time your computer lags or your phone screen freezes for a second, just ask yourself, what if time actually did stop for a second and we all just missed it? Psychological and philosophical considerations. Alright, let's get deep for a second. If time stops, do we stop existing? Think about it. Our entire experience of reality is tied to time. Every thought, memory, and feeling happens in a sequence. But what if time itself was put on pause? Would we even be aware of it? Here's the trippy part. You wouldn't even realize that time had stopped. Your consciousness, your awareness, your very sense of self would be frozen, just like everything else. It's like someone pressing pause on the universe. The second time resumes, everything picks up where it left off, and you have no clue anything ever happened. It's a bit unsettling, isn't it? Now let's push this even further. What if time has already stopped before? Maybe it pauses for a second every few thousand years and we just don't know it. Maybe right now, time has stopped, and you're frozen in place, unable to perceive the stillness. And the moment it resumes, well, you're right back to reading this sentence as if nothing happened. Then there's the ultimate question. If time stops, does reality still exist? Time and space are deeply connected, meaning if time ceases, does the universe even remain? It's a classic philosophical paradox. Does reality require time to exist, or could the universe just hang in place, waiting to move again? And if we go even crazier, what if time isn't real at all? What if time is just a human-made construct and the universe moves in ways we can't even comprehend? Maybe we're living in a cosmic illusion where time is just an illusion of motion. If that's the case, then stopping time wouldn't just freeze the world. It might break the very foundation of reality itself. 1 second. That's all it would take to change everything. Or maybe it already has. Theoretical physics perspectives. Now let's get scientific, because if anyone can explain what happens when time stops, it's physicists. But here's the kicker. According to physics, time stopping shouldn't even be possible. Time isn't just a background setting, it's woven into the very fabric of the universe, tied to space itself. Stopping time would mean disrupting space-time, which could have insane consequences. For starters, Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that time is relative. It speeds up or slows down depending on gravity and motion. But completely stopping time? That's next level. If time froze, space-time itself would be affected. Would the universe continue existing in a paused state? Would everything collapse into chaos? And let's talk about quantum mechanics, the science of the tiniest particles. On a quantum level, particles are always in motion, constantly shifting and vibrating. If time stopped, these particles would freeze in place. That means no atomic activity, no light movement, no energy transfers, literally nothing happening. It's a complete shutdown of the universe at its most fundamental level. But wait, it gets weirder. Some physicists argue that time is just an illusion. According to certain theories, time isn't something that moves. It's just a way we perceive changes in the universe. If that's true, then stopping time wouldn't actually do anything because there's nothing to stop in the first place. Mind blown yet? So let's sum this up. If time stops everything, energy, motion, thought, light ceases. But since time itself is part of space-time, freezing time might be impossible without breaking reality itself. And if it ever did happen, we wouldn't even know. So the real question is, what if time has already stopped, but we're just living in its resumed state? What if we're part of a cosmic play button being pressed over and over? Maybe time itself is the biggest mystery of all, and we're just along for the ride. And that, my friends, is the mind-bending reality of time. Did time ever stop before? Would we even know? The universe is full of mysteries, and this is just the beginning. If you love diving into mind-blowing theories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. What do you think would happen if time stopped? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is InnoVision Tech, and I'll see you in the next one.